Hi guys, I wanted to talk to you today about casting these new Skagit Scouts from Airflo on switch rods. You know, there's a lot of us out there that maybe learn how to spey cast on longer Skagit heads, or even, you know, more traditional lines like long bellies, mid bellies, that kind of stuff. Or maybe you're new to this sport and you live in the Rocky Mountains and you want to get into trout spey fishing. I want to talk about 3 tips that are going to help you cast these shorter heads on switch rods better. So the first thing I want to talk about is that, you know, when you are casting a longer line, you're really relying on the speed of that line to help you bend the rod. And so with that being said, when you go to a shorter line, now mass becomes the bigger thing that's helping you. And so the big takeaway with that is you just don't need as much speed to cast these shorter heads as you would with a longer head. And just keep in mind, your 2 goals when you're really creating your DeLoup are, number 1, to pivot the anchor out here. So if I do a snap tee, I want my anchor to pivot and turn straight at my target. And then number 2 is I'm really trying to load the rod or bend the rod. So to do this, you can do this with very minimal speed with these short heads and a little longer switch rod. It doesn't take a whole lot to get those 2 things to happen. So moral of the story here is, just start smooth and slow. Always quantify in your head when you start to sweep the rod, start with 5 miles per hour. It's a really good way to sort of think about your rod starting to sweep. And just remember, you can always give it a little bit more gas to get that anchor to turn, but you can't slow down or the rod will start to unload. So that's our first tip. Just start smooth and slow. Watch your anchor. That'll help you kind of judge how much speed it takes to turn it. And that alone will put you miles ahead. So the second thing I want to talk about is really kind of your DeLoup trajectory, if you will. You know, a lot of us that learned on longer lines, or if you're new to this, maybe you're watching these videos or reading books, and a lot of people kind of preach that the rod tip sweeps from a low to a high position in your DeLoup formation. And if you're casting a longer line, that's perfect, because that's going to traject your DeLoup up. And with, say, a 50-foot line, that's a good thing. The problem with this is, with these shorter lines, if you do this, you have a tendency to blow your anchor out of the water. In other words, the fly leaves the water on the back cast or the beginning of the forward cast, and we lose all of our energy. And you hear that dreaded whew sound. So a really easy way to kind of think about this a little differently is to just throw your DeLoup lower to the water. And this is going to be a little counterintuitive at first, but just think about making a lift and sweeping with a flat plane a little bit higher. And essentially what that's going to do is now put the energy going a little bit lower, and it's going to drop our DeLoup down, so we're going to get a little bit more stick on the water. So this is just really easy. Make a vertical lift after your anchor setup, up to about 30 degrees, make a flat sweep, and that alone will help you as well. So we got 2 things. So the third thing we're going to address today is just staying compact in your casting stroke. You know, when you cast a longer line, you need to move more fly line, so you tend to kind of open your stroke up a little bit, and if you kind of notice where my elbow is here, you make a really long casting stroke. With these short little heads, you just have to stay very compact in your stroke. So imagine you've got a box in front of you. It's as wide as your shoulders, down to your belly button, up to your eyes. You want to keep your hands inside of that box. So when we say a compact casting stroke, we're not like this. Just really think about keeping your elbow in one place as you're making your right shoulder cast. Your left shoulder cast will sort of naturally fall into place. But just stay tight. I always kind of just think about keeping my elbows. If I had a tennis ball here, I'm just keeping that tennis ball between my body. So 3 things that we want to think about with these shorter heads. First, just nice and smooth and slow to start that DeLoup. Second, throw that little bit higher sweep to throw that DeLoup lower. And third, just keep your hands close to your body in a nice compact casting stroke. Those 3 things will help you cast these new Scouts on switch rods. For more information, visit airflowusa.com.